This sounds so lame, but it's not lame.
This is Basic AF. I'm your co-host, Tom Anderson, and I am joined by the one and only, and also fresh from the Jersey Shore, looking like a bronzed Adonis, Jeff Battersby. JB, how you doing, brother?
Terrific. How are you, man?
I'm doing okay. I've had another respiratory thing this week, so I do sound a little deeper than usual, I think, but not as bad as the other day.
It's the sexy Tom show.
Oh, God. Go ahead and turn it off now. So I do have cough drops at the ready and the cough button.
Water.
If needed. Water, all that usual stuff, too. So want to first say thank you to everyone that's here again for this episode. We do greatly appreciate your support. If you're new, welcome. And we're glad to have you here and hope to earn a prominent position in your podcast app playlist. And if there's anything that after you listen, if you got any comments or anything like that, feedback at Basic AF, show us how you can get a hold of us. We're always welcoming your suggestions, thoughts, questions, if you have any questions, because we do some technical things on this show, or technical discussions, rather. Yeah. And not too many technical things. We just sit here and run our mouths. But so anyhow.
Yeah, and also, subscribe, like, follow.
Yep.
Pin, whatever it is that you do on whatever app you're on. And we really appreciate that. And we are seeing more and more downloads as time goes on. So,
yeah, we are.
The two schmucks that are sitting here talking, having fun. And so far, we're up to what now? We're almost 900.
It's getting close. Yeah, we should, with if we don't screw this show up too badly, we should hit it this month. If we turn off a bunch of folks, we might never hit it. So we'll see.
Or we might get a bunch of people pissed off listening.
Yeah, I don't think we'll do
just
that.
As good as anything.
But if you get a chance, if you do listen in the Apple Podcast app, if you would not mind, throw us a rating there. That helps with positioning there. And ideally, at some point, get us into you might also like suggestions that they do there. If you want to leave a review, that would be great. And if you leave a nice review, let us know. We might be able to send you a sticker or something as a little token of appreciation. Yes, we will buy ratings and reviews with stickers.
Yes, right. So, we're easy. And you might also like to go on a long walk and not waste your time with us.
Well, what better guys to do that with?
Right. We also, you put us up on YouTube now, so you can pick us up on YouTube. That's a new place. Although if you're listening to us here, you're already listening to us. So,
yeah, I was surprised. Like I saw like 30% of people that listen to that listen to podcasts like to do it on YouTube.
That's really interesting.
It is, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, that's not totally surprising because, I've started listening to like some music playlists on YouTube while I'm at work, and they're just rolling in the background. And so I think the same thing would apply with the podcast. So we are there if you want to check us out, Basic AF Show on YouTube itself. We're also it's in YouTube Music, so you can find it there too.
Wow, we're singing now, Tom.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. So this week, and we'll only talk about this quickly because we've got a lot of other stuff to get to. The social media clone wars continue. So obviously everybody knows about the drama that's been around Twitter of late with Elon
Cage
Musk
match
taking over.
Cage match. Can't wait to see that.
Yeah, the cage match should be interesting. And I mean, there's always been drama around Twitter, but this is, with the owner.
The new owner.
Yeah, the recent owner and some of the things going on there. And so Meta has had one of these in the works, and this week opened up their Threads app, or Threads social media service, I should say. The Threads app is what you use to do it right now. You can only use a mobile app. There's no web service or anything just yet. I suspect that's coming. And that has taken off pretty quickly. I mean, I saw they're up to 75 million users already. It's probably more than that. That was as of, I think, maybe yesterday or Friday as we record this. This is Sunday. So it's taken off. Jeff, I know you and I talked about this while you were on vacation a bit.
Yep, hanging out with Sookie.
Yeah, hanging out with the Zucker. Have you spent much time with it yet?
You know, instant regret. I did sign up. You talked me into it, Tom, as you often do. You know, I'm wearing an Apple Watch, and now I'm on freaking Threads. By the way, same name at Reyes Point, which is what I'm also on Instagram, which, by the way, I think is why they got so many users so quickly, is real easy onboarding if you already had an Instagram account. So you got Threads, all the people that you followed on Instagram, immediately you were following on Threads. One downside to that, by the way, is you want to get rid of Threads, you need to get rid of your Instagram account. So
yeah, and I saw that they were going to work on that so you can do one without the other.
Yeah, sure they are. But yeah, I'm on, and to be quite clear, not really on, as I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram, really. I do have a user account on Instagram that I haven't posted anything to in a good long time. I do not like the Facebook paradigm. So I have largely avoided that. You're going to cough. I'm going to burp all the way through this, by the way.
Sweet.
Yeah, well, probably fart too, but that's
dudes.
Story. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. It's one more thing, is really what it is.
It is
one more thing, and I'm kind of enjoying the Musk tailspin over on Twitter. That's been fun to watch. By the way, if anybody hasn't noticed, Mr. Musk via Twitter is suing the law firm that allowed Musk to buy Twitter. Figure that one out.
Good.
Yeah, that's a little circular logic. It's a Mobius strip of genius. That's what that guy is. He's a Mobius strip of genius. Anyway, yeah, so that's about it. I don't know, man. I'm finding myself now on Twitter watching no context humans most of the time, which is actually pretty fun. Little follow if you're interested.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason that it's gotten so much, we'll say, hype this week is that people have been looking for an alternative. Yeah. And I think I know a big part of the Apple Twitter community jumped over to Mastodon, but let's be honest, that's not for the mass market. No. I'd been on Mastodon for a few years before, it became the somewhat thing to do for certain groups. And I get it. I mean, you want to go somewhere, and if enough of your friends go that you're already talking to, then you kind of can keep things going, but it's not a mass market thing.
Totally not.
And, and time will tell how this one plays out. And, it's new, shiny. People were feeling good about it. I'll admit, it was kind of fun the first week. To see the enthusiasm around it. But that's all going to change because, they don't have suggested for you or recommended for you or ads populating in your timeline yet. And we know all that's coming, right? And that's what ruined Instagram for a lot of people is you follow, certain people and you don't see them for months. Because of the algorithm stuff. And so we know that's going to come and screw it all up. And so I would just encourage people who are on there and super hype about it to kind of, temper that. You're in for a big letdown, I think. But for now, I am there. If you want to give a follow there, Tom Anderson is the username there. It's just slightly different than on Twitter, which was is still Tom F. Anderson over there. Funny thing about having Tom Anderson is still every year or two, I get someone tagging me in something on Instagram, because that's my username there, thinking that I'm the Tom Anderson from MySpace.
Yeah, well, that's you, man.
And I wish I had his money, but I'm not.
Don't you, Tom?
Yeah. So anyway. Doing
your music on MySpace still?
No.
I think the big difference, Twitter, at least the experience for me was very organic. And I will say that I still have a very well curated follow list on Twitter, which on Instagram I don't, because I don't really use Instagram, and I don't know, it that was a very organic experience for me. I started very early when Twitter started, many years ago, before it even worked, back in the fail whale days, which we're seeing more and more of these days.
Was that 2008, give or take?
Yeah, it had to be somewhere around there. I was on pretty early. I could go look and see.
Yeah.
I hopped on Twitter and really enjoyed it because I was able to see things that I wanted to see on Twitter. I don't know if that Instagram's going to be that for me. I mean, Instagram. Well, it basically is Instagram. Let me just say that. If you look at what your feed looks like on Threads, what you will notice, or at least I have, is I'm seeing all the same videos from people that I would see on Instagram. The same pictures, the same videos, the same, hey, this is me, not seeing much differentiation, at least in my timeline between the two. Your experience may be different, Tom, because you do a fair amount of Insta, particularly with your other venture, Subi Adventures.
Right.
Recommend that follow, by the way.
No, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. No lies.
I'll send you a sticker.
You already sent me a T-shirt, Tom, and a sticker.
Oh, I was going to send you a Basic AF sticker.
Oh, God, I don't have one of those. Oh, wait, I have a stack on my desk.
You can have one more.
Anyway, for me, I don't know if I'm trying to think of the last time I picked it up in the last 4 or 5 days, and it was maybe midweek. And
Okay.
I think I signed on Tuesday or whatever day. What day was it? What would they think it was last week?
Wednesday or Thursday that came out. I can't remember which day it was, to be honest.
So,
yeah. And I think at least for right now, I think oddly enough that Threads is a better photo sharing platform than Instagram is, because Instagram has become so focused on being a TikTok clone that they're pushing Reels so hard and video in general, which, let's be truthful here, that's what most people want. That photos don't get the visibility that they used to get. And I think, at least for now, photos, and I think the formatting for the photos works a little bit better on Threads too. Like you can do some widescreen, and there's not so much cropping, and the quality looks to be a little bit better than you get with the Instagram posts. But again, this thing is going to be very dynamic, and it's going to be changing. And there are features that aren't there yet. Like you don't have a way to show just the feed of your followers. It's kind of the For You page for Twitter, if you will, where you get a whole bunch of stuff. You kind of get that. So like I've seen Paris Hilton do without that. And some other kind of, celebrity stuff that I don't really care about. I'm trying to get out in front maybe on some of the algorithm training for my particular feed. So like when I see the dipshits come in with the political stuff, instant block. Well, and that's what I did.
You blocked me already. Is that right,
on Instagram? Is I did the same thing. Like I just don't want that. Final comment is, how bad off are we that we look at a Meta product as our saving grace? It's like,
right?
Oof, man, these are these are bad days. But anyhow, on to better topics.
Not me, yo. That's it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think I'll be there. But anyway, I am there, and I can't escape until they let me delete that account. Maybe I should just delete both of them.
Oh no,
be done with it. No Instagram, no Threads. Anyway, yes, let's move on to funner things, Tom. More fun. Let's have more fun.
Yeah, I agree. So a couple of shows ago, we did our WWDC recap show. And in that show, we focused a lot on the Apple Vision Pro headset, which I think was kind of the big announcement anyway. We talked a little bit about the operating systems, but we said we would come back to those at a later date. So we want to do a little bit of that as we are almost to public beta season. I would imagine maybe even this week we could see the first ones of those. It's getting close. Like they usually crank those up in July. So I would say in the next week or two, we should start to see that. So I thought it'd be good to kind of revisit that topic.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tom. And I haven't put a dev beta on any of my devices. Have you?
I have not.
Yeah. And I'm usually second round in on public betas. I'm not so much into the early stuff. And I typically pop those on my phone. But what we did want to do is talk about things that we're kind of excited about in each of these new OS releases. And there are several things. There really are quite a few interesting new features that are going to pop up on each of these that make, for me, some interesting options. And so we're going to kick it off with macOS. And this sounds so lame, but it's not lame. We're going to see screensavers similar to those, or probably the same as those that are on Apple TV, popping up on macOS, which I love. I am often mesmerized by those on the TV, and so those are going to be showing up in macOS. I'm really excited about that, the ability to do that on my screen. And Tom, as you pointed out, animation when transitioning to desktop image. By the way, also, if maybe this is only in iPadOS option, maybe it is, but live photos on lock screens, I think. So we'll jump to that when we get there. But
right.
Yeah, like those screensavers.
Yeah, I think that's going to be nice. As you said, on Apple TV, those are excellent. I've got an Apple TV in my office at work for air quote testing purposes. Mm-hmm. With the TV there, because
testing out that OnlyFans just to see if the blocks are working at college.
Whoa.
I didn't say that, Tom.
I'll run that through the project committee, see if I can get that. Definitely not doing that at work.
That's what he says, folks.
Yeah.
Don't believe a word of it.
But though typically during the day I have the TV on and just those screensavers rotating through. I don't have like an office with a window, and so it's a nice little bit of scenery there in the office. So it is nice to see those coming officially to the Mac. There's been that third-party screensaver, I believe it was called Aerials, that you could download, and it would pull the official Apple videos, and you could use that. And so I used that for a while, but it'll be nice that Apple's going to have those built in. So that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Definitely recommend giving those a shot, especially if you've got an Apple TV. If somehow you've never tried those, do that as well.
Yeah, I can't believe that you haven't. If you haven't, absolutely turn those on. I'm sitting looking at them last night, and sometimes more interesting than what I might be watching on the television. Often more interesting than what's available streaming on the television. Next up, some new video conferencing features. And this I really love. We've all used, I would like to think, Zoom or WebEx or, God forbid, Teams. Although Teams seems to be the next big thing. But the biggest pain in the neck with those is their interfaces for sharing your screen. They're not fun, not easy. And one of the new features for video conferencing that Apple has introduced within the OS itself is the ability to, it's basically part of the sharing feature. You can have an app up, and from that app, you have the ability of using what Apple calls a share screen picker. And
that's
you have
a mouthful.
The ability. You know what? I might have typed that wrong because I have screen picker in the notes. I might have been at the beach with a gin and tonic in me or something. Whatever it's called, screen picker. I think that is what it is. Just screen picker that allows you from the app itself to say, share this via Zoom or share this via whatever the application is, which is brilliant to me. Rather than, if you use Zoom or use Teams, it jumps up a variety of windows and shows you everything that's possible. And oftentimes it's difficult to select the actual screen that you want to be able to share, especially if you're using dual screens. This feature, it appears that whatever screen you're on, you click that sharing option and it will pop that up on the screen for you. So I really like that. That's a pretty cool feature, I think.
Yeah, that should be a good one if we can just get people trained that it's there.
Yeah.
And discoverability might be a little tricky with that one, but it is nice to have, like you said, because when you do it like with Zoom, it can be a bit overwhelming because it comes up with a lot to choose from. And
yeah, and 9 times out of 10, how many meetings have you been in where somebody goes, "Oh, no, didn't mean to share that," and it's got their beach pictures from
or worse,
1980. Yeah, worse does happen. It definitely does. I still remember this is early in the pandemic, some video of a bunch of people in class, and some young woman took her laptop with her to the bathroom and put it down on the floor, and then realized she had her camera on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A coworker of mine has a story similar to that with, not with her, but a person that works at her husband's company did something similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. God, can't imagine.
No.
Like, Jesus. I have enough issues. I don't need that.
Right. Share that with the universe. So anyway, yeah. So this, at least it won't keep you from walking into the bathroom with your laptop. There's no block on that.
Right. I think it's safe if you just have a no devices in the bathroom rule.
Good call.
It's kind of the way I look at it, because then you just don't have to worry about it. But,
yeah, come on, Tom.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's nasty. Don't take your stuff into the toilet. Come on. You can put the damn phone down long enough to do your business.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
New rules.
New rules.
The new rules.
Right. Basic AF rules for life. That'll be our book. All right. So what do you got next on the list?
Safari password management. Man, I still want to see some better version of the keychain application or passwords in system settings. But we've got a couple things going on here, which is separate Safari profile. So a work profile to store work passwords and related, a personal profile for all your personal stuff, which I love the idea of that. And then also password and passkey sharing. So with family members, I believe this is the only way that one's going to work, at least is my recollection. But what a nice feature, rather than the kids asking, "What's the Netflix password again?" You have the ability to share that stuff and make it easy. So I like both of those. Again, I really, really want to see some type of standalone or easier to access version of the keychain. I do use the keychain often to find old passwords. I'd like some tool that works better. As you know, Tom, I know you're fully into 1Password. I am now fully into the keychain. That is the way that I store all my stuff. And I would like a better management tool. It does work well, but ask me how many people know how it is that they can find their old passwords. 90% of people have no idea how to do that. So some easier tool, even if it was just a menu extra, if that's what they're still calling those, menu item. I know they used to call menu extras.
Right.
And I'm old and can't change. But something that would allow you to look up those passwords quickly, I think would be genius. But the fact that we have now more features available for creating, storing, using passwords, and then sharing those with others, I love that.
Yeah, definitely a nice addition to that, and that's one of the things I've used 1Password for, and why I've stuck with that. I've got a couple of vaults that I share out with the family for Netflix passwords and the streaming services and stuff like that. So, but yeah, they keep tacking little bits on, and it just seems inevitable that there's an app coming. But I guess they need something for next year. So. It'll get here eventually, I expect. But
by the way, there's a feature, and I think this will show up in macOS. I know it's definitely in iPad and iOS. But a lot of times you get authentication via text. But very often there are companies that will only send it to your email address. There is now a feature. I know it's in iOS and iPadOS. I would like to think it's also going to be in macOS.
Yeah, it should carry over. Yeah.
Yeah. Passes those email. Right now, if you get a text message, it'll automatically offer to fill it in on those devices. Those codes will pass through, and you can just tap a little thing that'll put those passcodes in. That's going to come through now in mail. So you get mailed one of those things, you'll have the ability to push that through as well, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah, that'll be nice. Yeah, because when they added that to messages, or I should say when they did the messages integration with Safari, so they would pick those up and show it to you. I mean, that's been a nice time saver. And I think Android had that before. Because I remember when that came out, the Android people were like, it's about time. Which it was about time. But I'm glad it's here. And I think that'll be nice too. I don't have too many of those to just do the email thing. And of course, there's a whole separate conversation about the security of multi-factor via SMS versus authenticator apps and passkeys and all that kind of thing. But that's a whole different show. But I think that Safari password stuff that you talked about there a minute ago, that should carry over as well, which is one of the pluses, right? So, when we were outlining this show, we thought, well, we could break it down by operating system. But the truth of the matter is, the way that Apple's rolling things out is these things generally will go across the whole ecosystem. So it'll cover macOS, iPadOS, iOS, to a lesser extent, watchOS, because a lot of it just doesn't apply. But so that's the nice thing. It's like you get a feature and it's across the board, so that you can really, if you dig into it and you start to use it, you get the benefit in multiple ways. Yeah, truly the case. And so excited to see that. Excited to see, again, better and better features for password management. There's no reason Apple can't do that, and clearly they are. And of course, doing it well, at least as far as I'm concerned. Which, speaking of integration across multiple devices, a couple of new features coming that, again, will be across devices, which are updates to both PDF editing and the way the Notes application works. Yeah, this should be great. I really, really am looking forward to this. So collaboration capabilities on PDFs, which hasn't been a feature before. So that's going to be a new thing where you can mark up PDFs together. Automatic form filling using your contact information for PDFs. And better form features in the preview application itself. Again, I noticed I used to use PDF Pen Pro. PDF Pen Pro got picked up by another company. I do not like Adobe Acrobat's interface at all. It's, I don't know whose idea of UI that was, but when the revolution comes, I think we need to take care of those guys. But the tools that Apple looks like they're adding to the PDF tools, PDF preview application, it looks pretty brilliant. Likewise, in Notes, we use Notes, you and I do, for finals on the show notes that we have. We're still using Craft, although maybe it's time to bounce into Notes for show notes as well. But we're using Craft for show notes still presently. But number of features, being able to link documents together or link notes together. One thing that I had not initially seen in the original presentation that Apple did is Notes is also going to let you push some anything that you've done or anything that you create in Notes to a new Pages document. So yeah, that looks good. Get some genius idea while you're on the road and typing up the first pages of your presentation or your short novel or whatever it is. You can push that directly into Pages. It will create that new document in Pages, which is a nice feature I'd like to see popped over to other things. I often, as I've mentioned a bunch of times here, I use Highland Pro to do all my writing. And I often, though, will start with ideas in Notes. I'll have something or see something that I want to work with. I would love that to be pushed beyond just Pages. So hopefully there's an API out there that will allow you to do that. But I really like those features. Those are some nice things coming to both of those applications that I look forward to getting my hands on. Yeah, likewise. That's good stuff. Next in line. This wasn't super clear, but there are going to be some better screen sharing options. Screen sharing works reasonably well. Whether or not you know this, from the Messages app, you have the ability to request to share somebody's screen, or they have the ability to share theirs with you, which really, really nice features. It still is a little, I don't know,
hinky for me. It doesn't always work in the way that I expect it to, or the notification that people get at the remote end, doesn't always work. But apparently there are going to be some new features coming up that way. And I would really, really love to see something like this across all platforms. I know that that's probably unlikely, which means I'll still be paying for TeamViewer to work with clients, which, by the way, ain't cheap. It's a hefty nut once a year that I pay for TeamViewer to be able to work with my clients. But I have always liked, and they had this in iChat back in the day, the ability that you had to be able to share people's screens. Any enhancements to that, particularly across other devices, to me seems like an amazing tool. And if I'm not wrong, I think you also have the ability now to see iOS device screens using this, which you can't really do with other things. I believe that's the case. It's not control. I don't believe there's any control piece of that. But man, so much easier to be able to work with people and walk them through things rather than okay, can you see this? Okay, click that.
Right.
Okay, now that you've clicked that, there should be 5 options.
I'm not seeing it. Okay. Look closer. Yeah. And, the biggest complaint that I've had with screen sharing, and I don't do a lot of it. Like, we use Apple Remote Desktop, which is still limping along after all these years, to get into our classrooms at the office. It's just that it feels like it's in molasses. Like,
a little laggy.
Yeah, and it's like you click something and the menu comes up eventually, and it's just, and I don't understand why it's still that way, because and I think it's just the approach they're taking must just be different from how Microsoft does it, because this is one of those things that Microsoft has nailed for years. Like, if you use the Remote Desktop app to get into a PC, it's great, super responsive, and I've never had an issue with it. And I don't know if they've got some type of patent around that or what, but Apple's has never been to that level, and maybe they just haven't cared. I mean, it's good enough,
I think this may be a complete fabrication on my own part, but my understanding was, I think I read somewhere, and this is years ago, is that the way that Microsoft Remote Desktop works is you're not seeing a video stream, you're getting screenshots, and they're basically update, much lower bandwidth and requirement. And in my understanding is that screen sharing on the macOS side is a stream. You're getting essentially a video stream.
Right. Because Apple says in the write-up for this on the preview page for Sonoma, it says the new high performance mode. Sounds fancy.
Yeah, which requires an M2, I think.
Yeah, it uses the advanced media engine in Apple Silicon to enable highly responsive remote access over high bandwidth connections. And there's a 1 next to that. And let's scroll to the bottom and see what that says.
1.
Available on Mac computers with Apple Silicon.
Yeah, okay. So not just M2s, it's Apple Silicon.
Yeah, so I can remote into a janky PC and get fantastic performance, but I need Apple Silicon to get something better than what we're getting now. Anyhow, on to the next topic.
Yes. This is maybe hard to explain on TV, but the feature called visual lookup. So you see a recipe, or you see a picture of a very delicious meal on somebody's Instagram, since we were talking about those guys. This new visual lookup feature will allow you to take that screenshot and say, find me a recipe that makes this particular meal, and it will pull that up. Tom's looking like he's never heard of this before.
No, I have, yeah.
Yeah, you got that look on your
plants
face.
and other things. Like my wife uses that to look at plants and stuff.
I do too, and things like Merlin to figure out what birds are singing around me. But this is I really like the idea of being able to take pictures and then have it pull up, the whatever recipes it might be able to find based on what the picture sees. Built into the OS, by the way. This is built into the OS, so you don't need another app to be able to find that.
Is that where they did the demo in the keynote where they showed like the I think it was where they showed like the refrigerator or some stuff on the counter, and they were like, "Hey, look, you've got these ingredients here, some recipes."
I don't recall that particular segment, but I do believe that that's what was getting pulled up here. So I like that idea. So that's good. Also, as we kind of roll down the line, there are going to be some updates to the dictation feature that will allow you to both type and speak. Not me, not walking and chewing gum at the same time, but the ability to both speak to your computer. So mostly when I'm speaking, when I'm typing, those would be expletives. So that'll be fun. But the ability to integrate the two of those. So I want to play with that. Don't know much more other than there are some interesting updates to the dictation feature.
Yeah, and they've been building on that the last couple of releases too.
Yeah.
So good to see. And I think that's something I'm looking to maybe use more. I've got the newsletter that I do and things like that. And all of that stuff flows easier for me verbally than to write it. So I may just start using dictation to get the first takes, and then I can throw it in Grammarly and make it actually something people understand.
And then pop it in Chat GPT to change it completely.
I could do that. Yeah, could do that. Yeah, that'd be good. Also kind of, but not exactly, you mentioned keyboard there. There's some keyboard stuff coming too. They're going to, they say, have made autocorrect improvements. God, please. I hope so. And it's not, all of us are thinking that, I'm sure. And they've added inline predictions. So if you start typing something, make a recommendation for what it thinks you might mean to say in the rest of the sentence.
Let me just say, I hate that in Microsoft. Like when you're typing in Outlook, and maybe you don't use Outlook, but on iOS I do, and it will suggest
they have that.
Like, it's like, oh, dude.
Yeah, I've seen it in Gmail. Because we use that pretty heavily at work. I don't see it a lot because I don't use the Gmail web interface a lot, but sometimes I do. And that's been pretty good. So we'll see. I don't know if I'll use it a whole lot, but it's coming if you're into that kind of thing.
Correct. Sorry. I didn't mean to bitch. Yeah. And so we'll see. We shall see what happens there. And then you also mentioned, I thought we're supposed to get the health app. I want to see it in macOS. I don't think it's there yet.
I believe just iPad this year and maybe Mac next year.
Okay.
But yeah, that'll be good. I think because we talked about that in our wish list show. Something that would like to see, because there's a lot of information in there, and sometimes the phone screen is just cramped, and so it'd be good to see that maybe spread out. So looking forward to giving that a shot. Yeah.
And in additions to that, actually, let's just jump to the last thing. You put in desktop widgets from iPhone.
Yes.
That was you. Talk to me. Why do you love
that? Well, for one, I like the idea of having dashboards, and that could be a task list. It could be maybe just the music player, whatever it is. And it's funny though, when we had like the dashboards service or feature, whatever that was called back in the day. Remember, you could hit the little keyboard shortcut and those little web apps would pop up. Yep. I don't recall ever using that a whole lot, but a lot's changed since then. So we've had the iPad come out, we've got the iPhone, and we've had widgets on those for some time now. And I've got a screen like on my iPad Pro that is, I've got tasks up there. I've got a photos thing up there, weather, like the big caret weather notification. I've started using it's because it's summertime now. We're getting, rain at weird times of the day and storms and stuff. I've got one on there for the radar. And it's just nice to have that glanceable type of information. And all that desktop space seems prime for that because it's kind of just dead space.
Yeah, especially on large screens.
Now, before they put stacks into the OS so you could clean up your freaking desktop, maybe not so much then, but now with stacks at that whole size, especially on a bigger display, because I've got a 27-inch display I use here and at the office. So there's a lot of space. And so I'm looking forward to trying that out to see how that goes. I thought the widgets from the phone was kind of clever. So if you've got some stuff there, maybe they don't necessarily have a true Mac widget. It looks like you just kind of bring your phone nearby and they show up through some continuity type feature there. So, would like to try that out. And while we're on widgets, interactive widgets are back. We used to have those because I can distinctly remember like having the things widget up. I'd have my task list there. I'd finish something. I would tap it and it would clear it and it would go away. When they did the re-engineering of the widgets framework, what is that? Widget kit. Everything's a kit, so I'm gonna go with it. That was probably something that they were working on putting back in, and it looks like they've done that. So that'll be nice too. Excellent.
All right, since you're talking about widgets from iPhone, we'll move on to some of the features that are popping up on iOS. One of the first things that I really like is there are now personalized phone calls, which is to say, rather than, your mom using your janky picture from when you were in third grade as your face when you turn on the phone, it appears that you've got the ability to push those, similar to the way, if you go into messages now and somebody changes whatever their little icon is, it'll say, Jeff's got a new icon. Do you want to use that instead? Which my brother seems to do that like every 2 weeks. I don't know what the deal is with him. But anyway, for when you're making a phone call, it's going to pop up something that you've created or give them the option of using a thing that you've created. So kind of like that. Looks fun, at least. And I like the fun in my iPhone. So dig that. And also, and this is really slick, live voicemail, which kind of takes us back to the old days of screening your calls. Jeff, I know you're screening your call. Come on, pick up. We were supposed to go out tonight, right? Weren't we supposed to go out? Yeah.
That was the 90s version of being left on red.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's how we did it back in the day.
So live voicemail actually will allow you to pick up in the middle of a call. So it could be a junk mail call, but it could be legit. You're looking for a job. Somebody's calling you to say that they'd like to interview you, but it's a number you don't know. You'll be able to see that on the screen. So I really like that feature.
Can't wait to see those extended car warranties come up.
Right. Looks like your warranty's wearing out.
Do you still get a lot of phone calls these days?
Real phone calls?
Yeah.
Occasionally. Depends. The answer is, yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do get phone calls. And I make phone calls. I don't leave messages typically. If I do not get you, I will not, if you don't pick up, Tom, you never pick up.
Nope.
If you don't pick up, then I don't typically leave a message unless there's some reason to do so, unless I'm calling the car shop or something and I need to leave a message. But I do still get a fair number of phone calls that aren't, your car's extended warranty or, the Hilton Club calling to tell you that you could go on a 5-week vacation. How about you?
No, not many. Like I was just scrolling through the phone list. Primarily, every once in a while, if I'm, out at work, somebody will call, but most of our stuff there is in our chat app. Everything else is, through messages, FaceTime calls, that kind of thing, but kind of traditional phone calls, not much.
Yeah. Nope.
Okay. I was just curious.
I do talk on the phone.
Okay.
Happens occasionally. Talked to my mom this morning, but that was on my watch. So messages, getting a couple of new features, which I really like. One is the ability to alert people when you arrive at a location, which, you can always have people follow you. That was a feature, but maybe you don't want that all the time. For example, right now, my son is touring Thailand. Just landed there a couple of days ago, and he is sharing his location there, which is pretty cool. But that is a persistent location share. He's constantly now sharing his location as he's tooling around Thailand. Maybe you don't need that. Your kids are going from here to somebody's house. You want them just to let you know that they arrived there safely. You can have that be a feature. So it lets everybody know when you've arrived home safely, but is not persistently sharing location information. So really, really like that feature.
Yeah, that's nice.
These are the kinds of things that, the kinds of safety features that Apple continues to build into all of their portable devices, maybe not so much iPad, but the watch and the phone that are designed to keep you safe, whether it's the SOS feature that you have, on the watch in the event that you fall down and break your neck, or the phone. These kinds of things I really find useful without being intrusive. They don't feel intrusive to me. They feel like helpers more than anything else, and I really like that.
Yeah, definitely some nice quality of life improvements there. That'll be good. Like, because I know to this day my mom says, "Hook me up with that location sharing before you leave." And I'm like, okay, so I'll do that. And she sits and watches us as we go places. Not daily on trips, but like if we're going to, Connecticut or Pennsylvania, whatever, stuff like that. But
right.
Because that's a mother's love. It never fades. So that'll be nice. They've got some quick reply stuff, like you can swipe on a message to get to a reply right away, some catch-up stuff if you're in a group chat or just missed a bunch of stuff. There's an arrow that'll jump you to where you need to go to kind of catch up with everything. Some changes to how the app drawer works in messages, and that kind of rolls over into the stickers thing, which I don't think either of us are really in the demographic for that, but it must be popular because they keep adding things to it.
So I know people that use stickers all the time. I just not a thing for me.
Yeah, I never got into it, but for those who do, they keep adding to it, so you should like that. You have here, where to go? Maps offline.
What?
Yeah,
what's
so
offline?
Maps. So offline
maps offline. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about that. That's a new feature, and one that's particularly useful for me, who does a lot of hiking. If you've got no internet connection, you've got no ability to see where the heck you are in the universe. I actually had this years ago. Had this happen to me. I was in Georgia teaching a class, actually in Georgia, where I had a weekend off. And so was hiking, if I remember correctly, somewhere near the beginning of the Appalachian Trail, and got a little turned around and turned right when I should have turned left on my return back to my car, and was stuck in the weeds. Had no internet connection, so I couldn't see where the trail was on the map or any of that kind of stuff. Now you'll be able to have a downloaded map. It may not have GPS location, although depending on what devices you're using, that might be possible as well. And can use that then to figure out, where you are and work your way back. As luck would have it, I ran across a road and was able to hitch a ride from people and get back to where I was. But I would have been SOL. I was like out in the middle of nowhere. And dumb me, not enough water and all that kind of stuff. So, could have been a bad story. But the ability to have maps on your download actual offline maps makes a huge lot of sense to me. I currently use things like for hiking now. There's a All Trails app that allows you to do the same thing, but not having to pay that sub and getting the things that I need makes me very happy.
Yeah, and speaking of, while we're on that topic, you had that down below for watchOS for the hiking features, and I know we touched on that briefly in that episode a couple shows ago. So the hiking features, I think, for watchOS, that sounds like something that will be really good for you.
Oh, 100%. Those, I am super looking forward to those features. I hike, I want to say almost every weekend I'm doing some kind of hiking.
Nice.
This time of year anyway. Other times of year, maybe not as much, or when it's 100 degrees out and humid, not so much. But yeah, that is something that I use all the time. And one of the things that's a pain in the neck, by the way, if you track a hike using All Trails app, it turns off your exercise tracking. It's really weird. So the ability to have that kind of, I know it seems like a bug to me.
Right. It is weird.
I'm responding to Tom's face when I said that look of, but yeah, those things, for whatever reason, one turns the other off. So, tracking your steps or your distance or any of that stuff, it's either coming through one app or the other. The fact that I could have those trails and that kind of information on my watch or on my phone. And I do use both when I hike because my phone is my camera in my pocket.
Yep.
That's a pretty slick feature. Couple of other things that we want to look at, mental health tracking features which I really like, and tied to that journaling. Still interested to see how that's going to work out. I used to journal a ton, obviously write nearly every day in some fashion or form. But I like the addition of, how are you feeling? Where's your head at? And those things already do kind of exist in watchOS.
Mm-hmm.
So, like those features coming up in iOS. Music sharing and CarPlay, by the way, is another feature. And Tom, you have a kids stay off my lawn kind of attitude.
Lighthearted.
But then back to the health thing, some custom workout and meditation schedules that you can set up using Fitness Plus.
Yeah, you're still using that a good bit?
Not as much since it's warmer out, rather not be in the basement doing that when I could be breathing air and riding a bike and doing that kind of stuff. So limited, but the answer is yes, and I'm paying attention. Yeah,
that's good stuff. And I think we've talked about it before. Some of the kind of they've built this nice foundation of health features, and a lot of it tied with the watch. But now they can start to add on to it. And I think, you mentioned there, like, how are you feeling today? And then, maybe surface some trends that you could look at to say, okay, well, today I didn't feel the best mentally. It's kind of a down day. And it's like, well, yeah, but you haven't, exercised but once in the last 2 weeks, maybe you ought to pick that up or something like that. And that's kind of my thing. So yeah, that's all good stuff. So I think any of that kind of thing that they can build on, like I'm a big fan of that stuff, and it's why I've been such a fan of the watch for so long. All for that. I think that's good. Standby is coming to iPhone, and that's the feature where when you have your iPhone charging, whether that's with a lightning cable or a MagSafe charger, and it's in the kind of on its side horizontally. Mm-hmm. You kind of get a heads-up display of sorts. Maybe that's not the best phrase for it, but almost like a dashboard, I guess, of information on the screen. Now, if you've got anything, but I think it's the iPhone 14 Pro is the only one with the always-on display at this point. So if you have any other phone, you've got to tap it to get that information to come on. If you've got the Pro with the always-on display, it's always there. And so that's kind of nice. So if you've got one of those MagSafe charger stands, maybe you've got it, bedside, or if it's even in the kitchen or something, and it looks like that'll integrate with live activities, notifications, and things like that. And I saw in an article about that it looks like with MagSafe, because they can identify the MagSafe charger, you can set up kind of custom views for different rooms.
Interesting.
Which I thought was neat. I'd like to try that. I do have some MagSafe chargers, so I'll give that a shot.
Buy some more MagSafe chargers.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's what they're thinking. But so that looks pretty good. I do think I think we're going to see that in other places down the road. Like there was a story this past week that Apple's working on a display that when either the computer's off or in sleep mode or something, the display could be something like that, have a standby mode on the display to show some stuff. So almost like a smart home screen, thing like that. So that looks pretty good. Over on the iPad real quick, because I know we're getting close.
Burning time.
Yep. We've got Stage Manager improvements. Everyone got really excited last year when they announced Stage Manager. Everybody got disappointed last year when they released Stage Manager. Didn't quite live up to expectations. It was kind of rigid with the window sizing, and just did some weird things. But to their credit, it looks like they have been listening carefully to the feedback and are making some changes. And it sounds like there's some more flexibility in the window sizing options and everything. Because I'm still very intrigued by that. With the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, I may not use it a lot in that configuration. But if I have it hooked up to the external display, then it becomes a bit more interesting. So I do want to play with it again. And I think as long as they continue to work on it, that's a good thing.
Yeah, a couple of other things before we wind up. If FaceTime using your phone or iPad on Apple TV, which I love that idea. Much easier, to be sitting on the couch and be able to talk to grandma and grandpa at a distance on a big screen, which seems really slick to me. So that's going to be a really good thing, I think. The other thing is, and I just noticed this, and we can discuss it at some later date, but the ability to use an external camera for FaceTime, which on your iPad requires a connection to another device, but you have the ability to use an external camera on that. So that should be interesting. And I'm just going to throw this one in there in watchOS, a follow-up to med reminder. Typically you get that message that says, it's time to take your medication. And I will find sometimes that I have to remind myself, did I take those? Because I'm doing something at the point in time when I normally take meds during the day. So there's a follow-up reminder coming to watchOS.
Which is good. I think that's probably something they should have had. But
no. So it's
it's coming.
Simple feature.
Yeah.
Tom, I think that's us.
That's it, brother.
Oh, yeah. One last thing.
Yes.
Back-to-back requests on Siri.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, right. We'll see how well it works. The back request doesn't work so well sometimes, but the ability to say, two things at once, which Siri scolds you now when you try to do that.
Right. And they've reduced the command by 50% that you use to invoke Siri, too. So you don't have to use the hey any longer, which I think he's be curious to see if you still can or if it's just...
I think you can use both.
Okay. So I don't know. I think, was it MKBHD the other day that tweeted, it's almost funny how bad Siri still is.
Right.
Or remarkable or something like that.
It is remarkable.
It is, yeah. And but anyway, whatever. We'll see how it goes. I don't have much hope for that one. But
nor do I.
Yep.
All right.
Good to end on a high note.
Yes. Yeah, on a getting high note.
Yeah.
We have successfully wasted another hour of your time. Pretty much.
We have. Yeah.
If you've stuck around this long, we appreciate it and hope that you'll stick around again. Tom, good as always to see you. I hope you're in better voice. And thanks for noticing my tan.
Yeah, you do look good, brother. You should go out about town tonight. Maybe enjoy a dinner.
Did that last night.
Oh, okay.
Didn't want to cook.
All right. So if you've got any questions, comments, concerns, or rude comments, send them to feedback.
Preferably rude comments. Sorry,
we're that kind of crew. Feedback at basicafshow.com. You can find all episodes at basicafshow.com. If you like these sort of topics and Apple stuff in general, I'd love for you to sign up for my newsletter. You can get to it at tomfanderson.com. You can subscribe there. We'll put some stuff in the show notes for this show, a few links and everything like that. Jeff, what else we got as we wrap up? As a reminder, our theme music is by Psychokinetics, Celsius 7, one of the front people. Is that the way to say it these days? Psychokinetics has a new album out as Celsius 7, so go check Celsius 7 out. And as always, our beautiful, gorgeous, lovely art by Randall Martin Design, which we would highly recommend that you give Randall a shout if you have any design needs. He does a lot of different stuff and able to do it in fast fashion with your help. Yep, he's a fantastic designer. So I highly recommend. So that'll do it. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Hope you have a good rest of your day, rest of your night. Jeff, take us out. See ya.